Hey, what's up? We're reading a new manga. Doctor Stone ended, and Boku no Hero Academia is ending soon-ish, probably within like a year or so. It's in its final arc at least. So I wanted to explore Shonen Jump some more and see what other series are running in this, the most popular of all manga magazines. I feel like that's important to kind of take the pulse of what manga is in society and such. Anyways, instead of reading any of the series that people recommended to me, I instead stumbled upon this Akane-banashi, and I loved it. I can't get over how great the series is. I love the characters. I love the art style, the paneling, the depiction of various things. But most of all, I love the premise. It's all about rakugo, which is this very long standing Japanese tradition of performance where a single person sits on a stage and tells a story using a rich variety of voices and impressions and gestures, really making an entire scene come alive just with their singular selves. It's an amazing art form that I've seen explored in a number of manga and anime now, and have always been, very fascinated by. Hopefully, this year at Anime North, I'm actually going to see one of the very few Western Rakugo masters, someone who has studied in Japan and achieved that highest designation, perform in Canada, which will be super exciting. But until then, I want to study the art form more and understand it better through series like this. So, this is the story of a young woman whose father was a semi successful Rakugo right at the cusp of being awarded that master rank. The proprietor of his school, the person who ultimately chooses who ascends to that upper echelon, decided to expel all of his students. And this is kind of like a motivating mystery for the whole series. Why did he do that? Why was he so disappointed or frustrated or upset or whatever? We have no clue. After that, her father falls into deep dejection, abandons his career of Rakugo, not realizing that his daughter has inherited that spark. And now she's the apprentice of a Rakugo master, and she's trying to convince, in this latest arc, she's trying to convince her teacher to let her pursue Rakugo as a career, and her teacher has arrived to watch one of her performances. Okay, I don't know why I bothered trying to get you up to speed. If you haven't read it, just go read it. Presumably, if you're watching this, that means you have been reading it. But let's dive in. This chapter is called "The Dreamer." Here is her contemporaries in this Rakugo school, along with her master. I'm sure these will all be major characters. I really love the designs of all of them, and I can't wait to get to know them better. Okay, so we start with a little flashback of the teacher. She's remembering a time when she saw her old student on TV. Everybody's dream was to be a comedian, rooting for him to succeed at that dream. He quit after half of a year at a comedy development agency, scraping by in all jobs. Wow. So this isn't an inspirational story. This is instead a story of what made her pragmatic, what made her think, oh, we should be pushing our students into realistic dreams and not these performance-based careers which are so sketchy. What more could I have done for him? So the students decided what they want to do next. Name them Subway, beyond saying yes, do that. So this is quite good, I think, because the stereotype of like a curmudgeonly teacher that goes, nah, no, that's never going to be viable or whatever, that's been done to death. There's a little more depth. It hurts her to do this. She doesn't like the fact that she has to quash their dreams and be adversarial to them and say no, but she really thinks this is her kindness. This is the sacrifice she can make in order for them to have a nice, stable life. The responsibility she has to take for what she says. That's what I tell myself. Okay, and now we see her on stage, and I'm hoping here we're going to get another delightful Rakugo scene. I have been so amazed with this series, how they depict the Rakugo, because it is such an audio medium, right? It's the tone of voice you use, the impressions you do, the accents and stuff. So how do you convey that in manga, in text? Let's see. Let's see how they do it this time, because they've really done a great job of mixing it up for each story. Once was a priest at a Buddhist temple who was not feeling well. He visited the doctor to see what was wrong. I like how they show little sketches of the story being told, but they don't rely on that too heavily. They never actually go into page after page of just depicting the story, because it is about her performance more than the story itself. She seems much more relaxed than the last time. She's improved. There's our proprietor, who gave her a chance early on in the series and is now happy to have her back again. There's her classmate, who encouraged the teacher to come and see her. Should I try to do voices? That could be part of the fun of making the series of videos. Is to try to do my own Rakugo. I need a fan. No, that's maybe insane. By the way, wise one, do you happen to have tenshiki? Tenshiki? Ten? Well, I guess I'd have to say no? Well, this is so good. The bubble trick, I think, is a big one. That they draw the outline of the speech bubble differently for each character's voice. And then beyond that, just like her facial expressions, how much things change, how much her body language changes and stuff. They really highlight these elements, and I think it's going to enable me to appreciate actually seeing Rakugo in person all the more. In fact, the priest did not understand what tenshiki meant. So this is another classic Rakugo tale. I like that there is like a repertoire that they go back to, that it's not about necessarily writing your own material, which is, in essence, a very separate skill from performing, but adapting and bringing out that material for the audience in front of you. I think it's kind of unfair that we expect our funniest stand-up comedians to also be the best comedy writers, right? Like, that kind of seems like two separate skills. So Rakugo, with this library of classic stories, kind of alleviates that. The priest was too proud to admit he did not know what tenshiki is. Despite acting confidence, it was a question regarding his own body and health, so he simply had to find out what tenshiki is. Hey Chinen, what happened to your tenshiki? I know I gave you a lesson about it ages ago. Huh? I don't remember. Well, you'd better go find out then. So he sent the apprentice Chinen to learn what tenshiki is. So he goes to another doctor. Oh, he goes back to the doctor. Okay. So this is like later, I guess, right? What's tenshiki? Oh, tenshiki? It means flatulence. Spatulas? Flatulence. It's farts, my boy. Oh, this is nice. The kid's face, the doctor's face. It's been a while since I've seen Akane perform Rakugo. Oh, interesting. So I wasn't really sure. Is she living like a double life? Is this hobby totally separate from her friend group? Do they not know she's doing this? But I like this better, that she actually has performed for her friends before, that they're aware of and supportive of her hobby. Comes from a very old book on medicine called the Shang Han Lun. Totally different person now. She must have put so much work in since the last time. Oh, okay, so we actually get a flashback of a time she performed for her friends. I don't know, I like that. I think the idea of like, oh, I have a secret hobby. You know, that works very well in fiction, because then you have these big revelatory moments of, oh my gosh, you're that masked performer that's popular on YouTube or whatever. But like, is it so realistic? Doesn't it actually create deeper bonds between the characters and allows for more characterization of the side characters? If the characters are like open about it, the way a real human being generally is if they have a hobby. Yo guys, I'm getting into whatever. Do you want to see me practice? I don't know. Tenshiki, because I didn't want to ask. A lean and genteel priest, are you farting? Interesting. So they actually would record and then critique her performances. This is a cool one. That when she's imitating the child character, she's supposed to be like looking up at the priest, or the doctor. But if, you know, she loses focus when she switches back and forth to the character, then there's an inconsistency in where the kid is looking. That's cool. That's really cool. The technicality of it. That's something that I really want to learn about. The audience uses Chunin's gauge to imagine the doctor's size and the distance between the two, and this is not helping them. How does it feel when someone's watching? I would have turned my back on Rakugo. Ah, yes, the explanation made the news. Cries of outrage over that old man's action. Also drew interest in Isho Arako as Rakugo. Ooh. This is something, I think if you're going to have a shonen series that it all deals with like talent, competition, achieving things in some field. It doesn't have to be battles. It doesn't have to be something where you actually have some physical strength. What it comes down to is that you need to really depict when someone's really, really good, when they're like multiple tier above our main characters, when they're like an end game type boss, even if it's not about direct competition, you need to really show it. You need to show how strong these top level characters are. Look at this. Look at his face. That dude's gonna do some fucking Rakugo. Oh, I love this. In my Kendrick review, I talked about this for like an hour. Ethics cannot overcome emotional impacts. Over time, the criticism turned to defense, then praise, until you had people say that expulsion controversy was legendary. Wow. Wow. Just off the strength of his Rakugo, they're like, okay, well, this guy clearly knows what he's doing, and therefore, as outrageous as expelling your entire classmate seem, it's legendary. Clearly, that was a bold move that only a godlike figure like him could take, and the correct move. Even made me mad. Despite all of that, Akane still chose to become Rakugo. Okay, so this mischievous kid now. I just realized I bet Master doesn't know what Tenshiki means. Hehehe. Well, I'll give him the wrong answer. Pretty reasonable deduction. Why would your master tell you, oh, do you remember we had a lesson on farting? You know, in trying to save face, he's revealed that the only reason he asked is because he doesn't know. Can't begin to guess how much feeling went into that decision. It's not something you do on a whim. And then the Tenshiki refers to a sake cup. Sake cup, yes, that's right. I did give you a lesson about that once. The web of lies is weaving. I stand in front of the classroom every day, so I know how difficult it is to convey things to honor others. Wolf equals evil. K equals honest, simple, good. What is K? What is this talking about? Huh? I know in the famous story by Natsume in Japanese literature, Kokoro, or Heart, the main character is just known as K. But he's not really honest, simple, or good. So I don't know if that's what they're referring to here. The nerves that come with speaking before an audience. To do it all alone, using nothing but your voice. Oh, doctor, remember when you said if I had Tenshiki? And I said no? Well, it slipped my mind. As a matter of fact, I have one right here. What's the most embarrassing thing the doctor can say, given that he thinks it means a sake cup? You wouldn't say, oh, I have a huge one. Because generally sake cups are teeny tiny. You know, it's just for one little shot at a time, kind of. What's he gonna say? How's he gonna screw this one up? I have a weakness for Tenshiki. I love it. Ah ha 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 ha. Very good, very good. And this is even more kind of tragic because in this moment, the priest is trying to relate to the doctor and trying to be like additionally honest, right? The priest, you gotta imagine, is someone of like moral standing. So for him to be like, well, you know, I actually do have a little weakness for drinking. That's him trying to, you know, really get the best treatment possible. You know, things the doctor's worrying about is alcohol intake, blah, blah, blah. Ah, ha, 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 ha. You love Tenshiki? Everyone applauds. It's not an act that you can pick up in a day. At first, I think I saw him in Akane, but she was only indulging a dream. Create something as scary as a Rakugo, I can't sign off. she's chilled to the core by this fart story. She's rethinking everything because of this fart story. Still have a lot to learn too. She's returned her survey with Rakugo Ka. All three options. So too many hours of guidance counselors you need to give me. Too worried? This is all true. Sure you're okay with that? You're not worried? Not at all. This is a pointless question. Cool! Student Rakugo competition. I assume that is going to be our next arc, or at least some upcoming arc. A way to prove herself yet again. A unique opportunity afforded to her because she's starting so soon. And I think one thing, that's amazed me the most is how well they convey different styles of Rakugo. Again, we were talking about, they got to establish this hierarchy. They got to make the people at the top seem really, really good. But even among peers, even among people around the same tier, they've done an amazing job making them all seem unique and learning more about the scope of Rakugo through that. So this is a great opportunity for that. See other people at our level. All right. Our final boss makes an appearance. Now, let's talk practicalities here. When a new series starts in Weekly Shonen Jump, it's exciting. You know that this is an unprecedentedly big break for the artist in most cases. You know that their dream is probably to have this launch into a superstar series that gets an anime adaptation and goes to dozens of tankobons and stuff and runs for years and years and creates a legacy. But that's not always the case. In fact, the vast majority of series don't even make it a year, right? Now, I think the series is fantastic. I think it's been getting quite a bit of buzz. I know that actual Rakugo performers themselves are into it, which is an amazing sign. But it's always fascinating to me to see the way that mangaka, when starting a new series, will hedge their bets. I think this is a great example. Because if suddenly they're like, uh-oh, ratings are slipping, we're probably going to get canceled in, the next few months, this is an opportunity to still have a very satisfying climax and to still have your fans appreciate what you did and continue forward with you into your future work, right? So if they wanted to, they could actually make this the final showdown where she really steps up to the plate such that Arakawa is moved and perhaps reveals the true reason for his expulsion or something like that, or has to acknowledge her dad's technique manifesting through her or something like that. They could actually have a pretty banger ending somehow. Now, of course, I don't want that to be the case. I want this to be a nice long story where she rises through the ranks and gains fame and prominence, but it's interesting. I think this is kind of a strategic decision to give themselves that out, if possible. If necessary, that is. Okay. That's all I have to say about this chapter. We're one chapter behind, so I will probably upload the next chapter tomorrow. Please look forward to it, and have a good day. Goodbye.